Not funny.
Colin.
It's going rogue left and right, man.
And Mike, the Ape Man.
Oh my goodness gracious.
PTR Radio.
You ready to kick ass?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to PTR Radio here on the fabulous interweb. That's right, we're back after a little bit of an extended break in between the last two shows. But, Mike, I have the feeling you want to say something. You have that look, like, I want to jump in.
Just before the show started, you said, no, I don't want Funkmaster. Do you have a machine named Funkmaster, as in Funkmaster Flex?
No, that's our outro. It's a song called Funkmaster.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Now it makes sense. I was in the wrong mindset. I apologize. Proceed.
No, all of my machines are named after television or movie computers. So I have Jarvis, I have Joshua, I have Friday, I have what did I name my I named my Mac something, but I have Gideon as my phone. Yeah. So no, they're all sci-fi computers, but no HALs. No, I don't want anything to go wrong and kill me. So no HALs.
What about Sal?
No Sals, because that would just make me think of the wrestler. So every time Sal comes up, I just think of Big Sally Graziano, who we interviewed and we had a great time with. But no.
Yeah.
Speaking of my computers, thank you for the great segue there, Mike, unintentional as it may be.
But I am the king of the segues, so
yes.
There you go.
Yeah. And so I made a purchase today. Made several purchases actually, because it's a whole thing. I'm gonna resurrect my NAS because it's just been sitting on my bar not doing anything. But I decided I was going to get into 10 gigabit networking because 1 gigabit is not enough. I need all the gigabits. So I have bought, and I am getting into now, wiring my house for fiber because that's how you get that's how you get the gigabits at a reasonable cost, is with the fiber.
Okay.
So, I was able to find a couple of good 10 gigabit cards. I got 2 cards, one for my main machine here and one for my NAS, for $25 a piece. Now that's a bargain. But the problem,
Single mode, multi-mode, LCSC.
So they're SFP plus cards, so they don't have the GBIC, right? So you have to buy the GBIC separately. So
okay.
then the question was, okay, well, do I try to do? Boy, we're getting really in the rabbit hole here, but do I try to do it over the Cat 5e that I've got running through the wall, which might be able to do 10 gig, because I'm talking about like less than 100 feet, but probably not. But the problem is, anyway, even if I wanted to, boy, those GBICs are expensive. SFP plus to RJ45, you're talking about $50 a piece for just each one. That is ridiculously expensive. Whereas if you go multi-mode fiber, they're like $10 a piece.
Because nobody uses multi-mode anymore.
So you can grab a couple of those, and multi-mode, I got like a 30-meter thing of multi-mode, which is 90 feet, because I want to try and just surface run it first and just run from my office over to my bar and say, hey, can I do 10 gig just crossover, basically, between the two machines? I haven't even bought a switch yet because the switch I want is actually sold out. But, if I just crossover between those two, can I do 10 gig and see what happens? So that's the hope, is that I figure I'm into this right now for about $120 to get two machines directly talking to each other, at 10 gig. I don't think that's a bad, proof of concept.
And, who knows what's going to, maybe something will show up in Amazon Prime Days.
Yeah, I mean, I seriously doubt it, but who knows? Maybe.
You never know.
Because we are on the Prime, that does happen tomorrow. So,
when's that Prime Day? I need to know.
It's tomorrow.
'Cause I need some cocoa butter and camping supplies.
It's tomorrow. Tomorrow and
help me
the
God.
Wednesday.
Now, you guys don't watch network TV, so you probably haven't seen the commercial as much as I have. Anybody else who watches regular network TV, I want to know how come nobody is complaining that the Michael Jackson or the Billy Ocean lookalike in the commercial, they got him ordering cocoa butter. Kim and I looked at each other and said, how is this not being called out as racist? They couldn't come up with any other lyric but cocoa butter. They might as well have said Jerry Curl. I
don't
mean,
know.
So here's my next question for you, Shag. Assuming that your proof of concept is going to work, because that distance with multimode fiber is not a problem. What's your plan for fiber for your branches off of? You're going to go fiber everywhere else? That's your plan?
No. So my real need is to get from my machine to the NAS fiber, and get 10 gig.
Okay.
And then from really my cable modem into the main network, probably 2.5 gig would be enough. I just need to get more than a gig, because I have more than a gig signal. I've got the higher than a gig package, but I don't have more than a gig connection right now.
And you could do fiber off of your modem?
No, I'd have to do a copper connection for that. So
you'd have to do bridge VLANs, or you'd have to bridge.
Well, I wouldn't have
gig copper.
Yeah, so I'd have to buy one SFP plus. So I'd have to buy one SFP plus the copper adapter, and then I could go copper from the switch, which actually the one I'm looking at can go into router mode. So I could go copper from there to the cable modem that that Comcast provided. And then everywhere else, gigabit is sufficient. My Rokus would not, do much better than gig.
Okay.
But the thing is, I want to be able to I want to be able to move my Plex server off of my machine. Because every time I need to reboot or apply a patch or do anything like that, the wife, gets me on the Alexa and tells me, "Hey, Plex just went down." And I said, "Yeah, I know, I'm rebooting." So the goal is get that moved over and get it running as a virtual machine on the NAS. And same thing for all the apps which go and archive all my footage. All the CDs and DVDs that I buy, all that stuff. Get all that archiving stuff taken care of off my machine to free up my box to do important things.
Okay. I was just curious how you were planning on running fiber in your wall, because now you're talking. That is something you have to do very carefully.
Yes.
Multi-mode is not as finicky, but you got to be careful.
Yes, yeah. And I know that right now I'm getting like a 90-foot piece of fiber, which is like I said, I want to surface run it right now, and it's going to be way longer than what I really am going to need in the end. But it's light. Light goes, Mm-hmm. According to spec, it's good for like 300 meters. Multi-mode is. So I don't think it's going to balk at 90 feet.
Okay, that's theoretical. So that's like a Wi-Fi
Yeah.
rating, but that also depends on what your light source is.
Yeah.
Which was why I was asking what SFPs are you going to be using, because then you start talking about 850 versus 1310 versus 1550 nanometer, LED versus laser, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this can get real expensive real quick. When you said $50 for, or when you said how much for your? Oh no, this was just a card. This was your card that you're going to slot your SFPs into.
Yes.
And how much were the SFPs?
The SFPs were like $12 a piece.
Okay, yeah, that's because they're multi-mode. That's exactly why.
Yeah, which for a home person, I think that should be fine. You know,
in a typical residence, yes.
Yeah, I'm not. You know, like I said, I actually have a client which is running multi-mode, and they're going like under a main street, like 150, 200, well, more than that away. So, you know,
most smaller applications that I've encountered will run multi-mode only because there's more flexibility in the spec. Single mode, you have less of a tolerance for your dB loss, your reflection, refraction, etc. Multi-mode is where you run into problems, and a lot of carriers will not run multi-mode anymore, period, point blank, end of discussion. They won't even accept it. So,
yeah. So, anyway, so now my question is, because, you know, I've been thinking about this NAS for a while, and so I had it, and one of the reasons why I turned it off is because of the noise. You know, it's in a 4U case, but it's running a butt ton of hard drives in a fairly, you know, restricted area, really. And so, you know, I've been trying to find something that you haven't had available since about the early 2000s. To be completely honest, I've been trying to find a case with a ton of 5 1/4 bays. That's hard in 2020. They just don't make them much anymore. Trying to find a case with a couple of 5 1/4 bays is extremely difficult because people go, "You don't need a CD-ROM drive anymore." What do you mean? Why do you need this? And I'm trying to find one with like 8 to 10 5 1/4 bays, and that's a hard order.
Say, I'm looking at my case, and I've got 2 external 5 1/4 bays. I don't know what I have internal, but I think you could swap out the drive cage. If you want an old putty-colored case that probably has 4 or 5, I have one in my attic that I can empty out and send you.
Yeah, so
if you want,
I've got 10 drives in the case that I have right now that's running the NAS. It's not happy about it, but I have 10 drives in there right now. And so and I'm trying to find a way to have more storage, you know, because it's like, hey, I've got a bunch of drives just sitting around doing nothing. Why shouldn't I put them to use? So, yeah, so I actually found, this is how bad it's gotten. I actually found a guy who created his own 3D print model for an external drive enclosure that holds 18 drives.
Here we go.
Yeah.
A full.
So I'm honestly thinking about printing my own external drive enclosure.
Well, I think your case, you may have a chance of finding a case that would work for you on Prime Day.
True.
Yeah,
that's a possibility.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. But
like here, I just happen to find one. I'm not saying it's going to have it's going to be available on Prime Day, but here's one right off the bat that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 external 5 1/4. Looks like.
Yeah, so I mean that's just that's the first world problems that I have right now. You know, it's a real first world problems. I got too much storage.
It's true, though. I mean, I have a case in storage which has tons of 5 1/4. My current case has none.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at that case as well, Mike. I was looking at the Thor The
Yeah, I mean,
the full tower Thor. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's weird that we shifted, you know. It makes you think about other things that we shifted away from. You know.
Well, because everything is SSD nowadays. And
Yeah. Except
spinning drives are just.
I know, but
error-prone.
when you think about bulk storage, you can't think about SSD. You just can't.
yeah, but can't you get 3.5 drives?
They are 3.5 drives. The reason why I was wanting 5.25 bays is because you can take 3 5.25 bays and you can fit 5 3.5s in there.
Okay.
They've got these hot swap bay chassis that you can fit 5 3.5s on edge in a 3 5.25 bay. You know, basically build your own server. Now, I'm not saying that those are cheap either, because like those enclosures are like $100 and some odd on their own. But so it's no matter what, being into computers is awfully expensive.
Yeah, I'd say my NAS is a bunch of 14 terabyte USB hard drives plugged into a Intel Nuke.
Yeah, see, and that's what everybody starts out as. And I want to be a little bit more resilient than that. Let's put it that way.
How's that not resilient? If any of them dies, I just unplug it and plug another one in.
Well, yeah, but I want to run like Proxmox and have some software RAID going on, and you know, I want to have some fault tolerance. You know,
The stuff I care about, I have them copied to 2 separate hard drives. That's what that's about the extent.
Come on, he wants fault tolerance. That's why he's running multi-mode. Can't be perfect.
So anyway, so that's one of my things going on. You know, but in the meantime, I got all kinds of other projects going on around the house, and you know, like right now, I need to reseat a fire extinguisher or a fire alarm in my basement.
I was going to say a fire extinguisher. How do you reseat a fire extinguisher?
No, I kind of knocked down my fire alarm or my smoke detector from my basement because I was working on the floor upstairs. So,
how thick are your joists that working on the floor knocks down? What am I missing?
I was putting in engineered vinyl, you know, planking.
Okay.
And it's the click lock stuff. And you're supposed to click it together, and then you're supposed to hit it with the rubber mallet. And it was making me mad. So I was hitting it fairly aggressively. And suddenly I heard a crash, and then my alarm went off, and it said, "Your smoke detector is no longer online." And I went downstairs, and it was in pieces on the floor because I had hit the floor so hard that it rattled the smoke detector free, and it fell on the floor.
Okay.
It took me, I worked on one whole weekend on the floor. Then I had to recuperate my back for a weekend, and then I just finished it up this last weekend. And it's about a 100 square foot patch of floor. It's not hugely big, but it's decent size. But you know, it shouldn't have taken that long if I'd have been in shape.
Famous last words.
Yeah. But I got it done now. And I didn't have to buy any new tools. I didn't take the opportunity to buy any tools. That was a problem.
Where's the fun in that?
I know.
Where's the fun in that?
I know. You know. But I did make the wife happy. So, you know, that's all that matters. At least so far. I do have to make my own thresholds though, I think. So I may have to buy a tool for that. Because I'm not happy with thresholds. So, but Mike,
you can just do like me. You see under my door here, I've had a transition sitting in the box over here for years. Why? Because I just haven't gotten off my butt to cut it and trim it and put it in place. So at this point, I don't care. The finish on my 29 cent per square foot lumber liquidators clearance floor is wearing off anyway. So that transition might not even match by the time I get around to it.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, there won't be a good. I have a piece of like 1x3 that I think, okay, I'm gonna have to stain this to kind of match. Then I'm gonna have to cut it down. I'm gonna have to notch it around the door jamb, and then I'm gonna have to put it down and kind of, and then I'm gonna have to bevel the edges. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. This is a lot of work for something people are just gonna step on.
Yeah.
And
that, according to that logic, that's the logic I use for why I never made my bed. Why am I going to make my bed when I got to sleep in it? I'm just going to mess it up in 12 hours anyway.
Oh yeah,
why am I even bother? What's the point?
Yeah, no, I don't make my bed. I just fluff the blankets if anything, But yeah, to make your bed. Who's going to come in and inspect your bed in the middle of the day that it matters?
Yeah, we're not in the military.
Oh, that's just no. I'm sorry. Even when I was single and I was, looking to mingle, I still wasn't making my damn bed. Hey, if I'm lucky, we're just going to come home and mess it up anyway. What does it matter?
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not going to impress you and get you into bed with a made bed. All right? If you are to the point where you are seeing my bed, it having messy blankets on it is not going to matter.
Okay.
Now, if it has,
as long as they're messy but clean,
as long as it doesn't have like chips on it, or soda stains, or barbecue sauce. But then again, there's some meth heads around Springfield where that wouldn't matter either. They'd be like, "Ooh, you already have the pipe and the aluminum foil? Bingo!"
This is the week that the meth heads in my town go crazy for, because is when you see all the Sanford and Son trucks driving around. Bulk pickup, the free town-wide bulk pickup is this week.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. My Sunday morning was spent breaking up a 4.5 foot wide fiber spool that sat in my backyard for the last 10 years, acting as a table. It finally started to fall apart. I broke that up, and it's now stacked up at the curb waiting.
You deprive someone of a new dining room table, Mike. I mean, they would have taken it even in bad condition.
Bad? No, this thing was flexing.
No.
They're not supposed to flex.
No. But, that is, town cleanup day is when the college kids get new furniture.
Yeah, that could possibly bite you, but that's neither here nor there. I mean,
there is a house down the street.
There's a fine line when you're taking furniture. You look at the house and you decide, okay, what are the odds of me getting hepatitis from this couch?
Am I going to sit down?
I know who
and get
lives
poked?
here.
There is a house down the street from mine, not in the same neighborhood, but a couple neighborhoods down. They have had a garage sale going on for over a month, and you would think, okay, well, they must pack it up every night and then bring it back out every morning. Oh, no, they don't. Do they put tarps over things? No, they don't do that either. And they just have a sign that says everything 50 cents. And I don't know how many times everything has been rained on. And there's just like lines of clothing. Just like tons, enough to do a clothing store out there. and I guess you could say that they are rain fresh because they have been soaked so many times.
That's terrible.
So
that is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. But oh well. So Mike, you got a new toy recently, didn't you?
Well, it's a step above a toy, but yeah, I finally gave in before Prime Day, only because it was like a decent deal. I bought a drone, and by a drone I mean it's upstairs. I don't even have it here. It is a 4K drone. It does record it. It's basically like a DJI clone, but it's by a brand called Holy Stone, which is a pretty well-known brand. If you look on Amazon, they're well-reviewed. And it's supposed to be pretty easy to fly.
Okay.
And for the most part, it is. However, because it is small, it is under the weight limit set by the FAA in order to have to register it for recreational use. It is very affected by the wind.
Well, yeah, I would bet.
Right? It does. Now, I specifically went for this model because it has the GPS routing. It has smart return when battery gets low. Let's talk about this feature for a second, because nowhere did I find, until I got an updated PDF manual online, nowhere in the printed manual that came with it did it say that when battery low is activated and smart return is hit, the drone will ascend to an altitude of 65 feet before returning to home. If you have ever seen my backyard, I am surrounded by trees. This is where I was flying. Ascending to 65 feet put it directly into a tree.
So it should really return to home before it descends.
There should be an option to just do emergency landing.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, I found out there is a 4-key combination to make sure you don't accidentally do that. But
so are we talking about like this one here?
The model number, it's very similar to that. The model number that I got was the 175D.
Okay.
Now, takes beautiful video. I have 2 beautiful videos of me flying very nicely over my yard until the wind caught it and I panicked and crashed into the bush.
So it's like this one.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
I have already ordered a, I believe I would call it a 24-pack of replacement antennas, or not antennas, propellers.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Because I suspect I'm going to be replacing them quite often.
Yep.
That being said,
as one does,
the difference between this and one of those toy drones you would pick up at, Rite Aid,
mm-hmm.
which is where my first drone came from for $15 on clearance, the difference is night and day. And the whole reason that I wanted to get this was so when I go up to Maine in the fall, I'm sure that Kim's dad is going to think that this is amazing when he can actually see video, like overhead video of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, yeah, but I think that you're going to have to, step it up.
Well, eventually I will.
You're going to have to.
This
get
is
bigger. I understand. This is like the training wheels.
This is, so this is kind of like let's see if this is something I can actually do. I figure if I can pilot this drone well and get good with this, then a better model that I could eventually take my FAA licensing test and use to do like actual paid work with.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. You don't go out and buy an $80,000 NASCAR race car to find out if you want to be a race car driver. No. You start out in a go-kart. Oh.
Yeah. No.
Why? What are you trying to put me onto? Like a surplus predator or something?
Yes, Mike. I think a predator drone would be perfect for you. You know, we can arm it with flyers for the radio show, and you can just drop them, you know, in small towns. That's perfect. You know, just make bombing runs basically.
Listen, my next one, if I could find like a remote control blimp. And paint it up with PTR Radio on one side, Butterstown.com on the other. I'll fly that around town. It don't befall me none.
You can
just have the Predator drone just do like fly in the air. I guess you'd be playing. Never mind. If you're playing outdoor hockey in the middle of Maine sometime, you got the Predator drone out there, and someone's trying to shoot the puck by you into the net. Push a button, have the Predator drone take them out. There you go.
There we go.
Ah, here we go. This is what you need, Mike. I have it.
What do I need?
Figured out right now. So if you don't get this, I don't know what you're doing with your life. So you need this. So this is
that's a racing drone.
So this is a first-person quadcopter.
Yeah, that's like a full-on. That's a beginner's racing drone, is what it is.
I don't think it's beginners at $1,000, but
that's for beginner.
You know,
let's put it this way: the professional drone racers are not racing like off-the-shelf DJI drones.
Probably.
Let's
probably
be clear
not,
about that one.
Well, here's one for $1,500. It comes with the replacement blades. Now you know you're going to need those.
I know I'm going to need replacement blades. Now, here's the other thing that I kind of kick myself about, and why I say that this is only a temporary or learning. I find out that the reason why a lot of these drones were so deeply discounted at the time, part of the FAA requirement that is rumored to be coming out in January is that all drones must have propeller guards in order to fly, and this one does not have any propeller guards available. Like you can't, nothing that like clips on or what have you. I haven't seen anything official about this. I know commercial drones are maybe exempt from this because of the FAA licensing and what have you. But
yeah,
you're seeing a lot of them now. A lot of kits like that clip on to the motors to meet that requirement.
Yeah, although I think at the level you're looking at and doing, because I believe MythBusters did an episode on drones and their lethality for like neck injuries.
Oh well, yeah. The propeller guards are not to protect me or anyone else. They are to protect the propellers.
Okay.
Because when an open propeller hits something at the speed that these things are spinning at, it is utter and sheer chaotic destruction.
Yeah, so MythBusters did test that. So they tested it with a chicken, and I'll have to rewatch that episode because for some reason I thought that they said no, but according to this article, at least they say yes. So I'll have to see which ones.
And that's a long time ago, so that's much older drones that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like 7 years ago, so, but it'll be interesting. So, but yeah, Prime Day is upon us tomorrow, and so all these things will be going on sale. In fact, some early Prime Day specials are actually occurring. I don't know if you know this, but like the voice assistants are already on sale from Amazon. So if you're thinking about getting a Alexa device, there are a few specials going on right now. So for example, the sunglasses or the glasses, are available for $100 as opposed to $250 right now.
I don't
know that I would have them. I'll be completely honest, because like their playtime, like if you're listening to music, it's only like 3 hours.
See, here's my thought. If they were a little cheaper, I might consider it. And the only reason being, like, when I'm up on, like, the roof cleaning my gutters, because, you know, I'm still young enough and nimble enough that I can go up on the roof and bend over to reach into the gutter to clear them out instead of moving the ladder 150 times. I would prefer to have my sunglasses with the speakers in them to listen to music than to try and deal with earbuds where I can't hear or something of that nature. So I could see that, but that's a limited use case. I'm not going to spend $100 on a pair of sunglasses for that.
Yeah. And, you know, but they do have some decent, like, I think they had the ball type ones with the clocks. I think those were down to like $30. The little puck ones with the cloth surround, those were down to like $15 at one point. They had the Alexa Auto. That was like down to $20, I think. So.
Okay.
So I mean.
Okay. I do have to clarify the prop rule applies to the smaller drones like mine if you are operating over people, which you have to apply for a permit for. You cannot operate any drone over crowds without propeller guards. The wording is actually contains no exposed rotating parts that could cause lacerations.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Okay. So I apologize.
But yeah, so I mean, there's some deals going on right now, but you know there's going to be more coming up. And also, not just Prime Day, because you have to think, Target's already released some sales, Walmart's released some sales, so they're hopping on the bandwagon to compete with Amazon.
Yes. Well, Target actually has been doing sales for a while now, and I read an article today, and that's because of I guess they were one of the few, all of the merchandise that they had sitting in containers showed up at once. And they had to make a decision. Either we deeply discount everything and just clear it out, or we hold on to it until it sells. Yeah. So apparently there's a lot of deals to be had at Target right now.
Yeah, so like KitchenAid mixers are supposedly $100 off. They've got those massage guns are supposedly $100 off. You know. Oh, here you go, Colin. Remember that whole pyramid scheme you were doing with gift cards for a while? You know, where you were ripping people off. So those are Target gift cards are 5% off. So maybe you can, get your Ponzi scheme going again.
Margin is not enough.
So specialty gift cards are 15% off. So, might be worth it again.
Now, is there anything... I got to ask. I don't really need any cocoa butter or camping supplies. I don't know if there's anything that I need. Well, in Prime Days past, I've been looking at them and like, okay, I'm waiting for Prime Day for this, and this.
Yeah, see,
there ain't nothing.
There's not a ton that I need, but boy, some sales just suck you in. I was walking through Walmart with my wife the other night, and we happened to walk by the electronics section on our way from from one section to the other. We just happened to walk past the back of the store, and she was looking at books, and electronics was on the other side of the aisle, and I'm like, "Hon, I think we need a new TV for the bedroom." And she goes, "Why? What's wrong with our TV?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm looking, and I think we need a new TV because they're bigger now, and we just got a 42 in there." And she goes, "Well, how big do you think we need?" And I'm like, "Well, this 70-inch TV is only $500. Like, it's 70 inches for $500.
In the bedroom.
Well, I honestly, I'd probably put it in the family
My
room and then
office.
take the 60-inch and put it in the bedroom. I play musical televisions a little bit, but I'm like,
this is
like-
more first world problems right here. Like, oh
like-
my God, I've only got a 60-inch in the. Oh God.
I'm like, what? When the TVs are this cheap,
Well,
let's put it this way:
okay, so that's
you can't afford gas to go somewhere. You might as well look at it in 4K in the television. I could afford a TV and watch a location cheaper than I could drive there.
well all right. So that is a fair point that the price on the TVs has come down dramatically. Like I remember paying $1,300 with an employee discount for a 42-inch Panasonic 480p plasma TV.
My first flat screen TV, my first LCD TV was a 37-inch Olivia, and I paid $1,000 for it. $1,000 for 37-inch TV. Now they give it to you when you buy a Snickers bar.
Much.
I mean, so that's just, it's crazy how cheap televisions are now. Now, that's not to say that it's the best television in the world, but this was a television with a Roku built in. This was a smart TV.
Well, that was like the TCL that I bought like last year. That's a 55-inch that was $300.
Yeah.
And it's a Roku. Is it the best picture ever? No. Is it a good picture? Yes. Is it acceptable for a TV that is on for 15 to 16 hours a day? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah, because when it burns out, you don't feel bad about throwing it away.
Exactly. So, all right. So, Colin, what about you? Are you looking for anything at Prime Day? You usually have interesting stuff compared to Shaggy and I.
Yes, I am actually looking at the Amazon Eero wireless mesh routers.
Really? That's not already on. I thought that was an early access deal since it's an Amazon product. You think it's going to be even cheaper?
No, it's early access now. I'm just kind of looking at it, going,
Oh.
Yeah. See,
And see, tying this back to. No, go ahead. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just these things have. Well, it says it has up to 2 gig. Anyway, the thing is, Wi-Fi built into the PC always tends to have drops, right? Where these devices have 2 Ethernet ports on the back, so I can plug my computer into one directly and not have to deal with Windows and its Wi-Fi. So that's interesting. I have gigabit internet in the house, but the Wi-Fi everything's connected to isn't 6. So I don't have full access to all the internet that the house has. We're paying $80 a month right now for gigabit. I think it's $120 to go up to 5 gigabit. So
I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate you. So, but again, these are so first world problems.
yes.
Well, so talking to what I was starting to say. So a couple of shows ago, I was talking about my network and how I was debating. I replaced my router with a Wi-Fi 6 router, and I was debating about doing a one mesh with the TP-Link extenders or adding additional Unify access points.
Yep.
Well, I wound up getting the extender off of eBay for like $20, and it's plugged in right by Kim's computer, which now has an Ethernet port, so I can connect. As Colin was saying, I can connect her computer to that, and that'll give her more stable internet. The problem was the one mesh extenders do not extend the guest network. which is stupid. Not just stupid, stupid. So what do? Now I instead of one or the other, I'm doing both. I have a Wi-Fi, a UniFi 6 Lite access point sitting over here that I'm waiting on the arrival of the Switch 16 Lite PoE switch so that I can move the ACLR access point to one end of the house, put the 6 on the other end, only have the PoE switch, which I can then eventually add UniFi cameras to. Yeah. So I'm snowballing at this point. I just want all the Wi-Fi. I want the entire neighborhood to know that I have Wi-Fi. Okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. So I bought a 3-pack of they were TP-Link mesh Wi-Fi pucks, and they work great. I like them. They work fabulously for me. My only problem is that I need to move one of them because the plug that it plugs into is right next to a chair in the living room that the damn kids keep moving back and forth, and then they unplug the stupid thing because it's right next to the outlet. And so I'm like, God damn it. No wonder the kitchen television keeps dropping service. It's because you guys keep unplugging the access point that it connects to. Is
that the Deco?
Yes, it is. It's the
Okay.
Deco like M5.
I looked at that before I started doing all of this. That was one of the options I was looking at, and I think I decided against it because by the time I added in having to get a switch to support all the stuff that is plugged into my router now, because the one I was looking at I think only had one port or two maybe, and the pucks didn't have wireless backhaul.
Oh, they do.
Wired backhaul. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, because the M5s do. Because that's what I'm doing for one of them.
It might have been different ones that I was looking at. But to your point, I didn't like it because they weren't PoE. If I'm going to do wired backhaul, I want power over Ethernet. I don't want to have to rely on a plug.
Yeah, I was really upset that they didn't have PoE. But they are also consumer brand. And
we have now gone from first world problems to like Kardashian problems now.
So much.
My God, we've ran out of soy milk for my latte. Whatever am I going to do, Courtney? I mean,
boy, and people have just tuned out unless you are networking for a living. You do not. You have tuned out and gone to another channel.
Poor Teresa hasn't even commented. She said hello and then she disappeared. She's like, "Oh no, they're gone down. They went down that rabbit hole now."
She's like, "This is Charlie Brown's teacher." Wah 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 wah.
Kim, like I tell Kim, like, "Hey, I'm doing this." She says, "I don't care as long as I can get online. I don't care as long as I can get on Zillow." That's fine.
my wife too. She's like, "I don't care. I just want Plex and Netflix and Amazon Prime to work." Although now she's done with Amazon Prime because she's watched. God, when she binges. Good Lord, she did Downton Abbey in a week. I mean, she just ran through
Downton
that
Abbey.
thing.
Downton Abbey, that's British.
I know, but
I watched The Terminal List, which apparently has got people up in arms about. But what was the other one that I was watching? Oh, Obi-Wan. I think we talked about that.
Well, I
do that. Stranger Things. Good Lord, did you watch Stranger Things yet?
No, because she's not into sci-fi.
Damn it!
My sister-in-law watched it. In fact, she said she watched the latest episode drop 3 times. The latest set of episodes 3 times. But like I said, I had to take off a weekend because I had hurt my back working on the flooring project. I watched WandaVision, all of it. Then I watched Loki, all of it. And so now I have a choice. Well, and I watched Multiverse of Madness, that one.
Uh-huh.
So now I have a choice. Okay, what do I watch next? Do I watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or do I watch Hawkeye? Which one of those
Hawkeye.
two do I watch first?
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye? Okay. I kind of was leaning that way because I thought, okay, I've heard that Falcon and the Winter Soldier got kind of like political.
So I like the story of Falcon and Winter Soldier better. But Hawkeye was more entertaining.
Okay. And my wife has put it on me to figure out what television show we're watching next. Because we finished up watching, so we've watched all the Bake Off shows, and by all of them, I mean all of them, like not just British. Like we've watched, like Irish, the New Zealand, Australia, Kenyan.
Have you watched Iron Chef?
She is not a huge
Iron
Iron Chef thing. She's not a huge fan.
The new Iron Chef is
Is what?
Let me ask you this: does it have Alex Gornicelli on it?
No.
No.
Okay, because she hates that bitch. I mean,
they left Food Network, so they have nobody but Alton, who left Food Network, to still be on Iron Chef.
All right, so maybe I watch. Maybe
and the chairman.
Maybe she'd watch that.
And the chairman.
The original chairman is still there too.
All right, so maybe she would watch that. But like we watched. What the hell did we finish up watching? I don't even remember what the hell we were watching. But we were watching.
Well, you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a couple more seasons of Magnum PI.
No, we're not. Are we? They canceled it.
It got picked up on another network.
Oh,
it got picked up by. Was it NBC? Picked it up.
She'll be so happy to hear that.
I hadn't caught up with that, so that's good.
She'll be
NBC
thrilled.
NBC.
We'll fight crime at NBC for 2 more seasons after CBS canceled it. You're right. Okay, great. Yeah. 10 episode seasons will air after the show ended a 4-season run on its original network. Well, she'll be thrilled to hear that. Yeah, so let's hear. What did we watch? So we watched.
Have you tried Master Chef Australia yet?
No, we don't get into the Master Chefs. It's just
try Master Chef Australia season 2.
Okay, we'll give it a shot, but I make no promises. She is not a Master Chef-y person.
If all she knows of is Master Chef US, that's like it's not even. They both have the name Master Chef in them.
But we finished.
They have nothing to do with each other.
But we finished watching Lucifer, and so she's like, "Okay, now you got to find another show." And I'm like, "Okay, that's not as easy as you think it is." I'm like, "Cause I got to find something that you like and I like, and that's hard." Well, we went through the A-Team, and we went through. I honestly didn't think she was going to like Lucifer, but she ended up liking.
What about Alias?
I don't think I ever watched Alias. That's the one with Jennifer Garner, right?
Yes. I mean, older show, but
maybe it might work.
Alias. I don't remember if Alias or Chuck was the first. One of those two was the first one that I ever watched, beginning to end, the entire series once it was available on streaming. Might have been Alias.
See, it's really odd because I like the sci-fi stuff, but I'm finding there's just this lack of good sci-fi out there that I like, because most of the sci-fi now is turned to the horror genre, and I don't like that. I like
no horror. Yeah.
I like good sci-fi, and there's so many good sci-fis that just either aren't made or were cut short or whatever.
Okay.
So
while we're talking about sci-fi, I got to get your opinion on this one.
Okay.
Okay.
New season of The Orville.
Oh, so far I like it. I do like it. Do you not?
Colin, have you seen?
I've only seen a couple episodes of the first season.
Okay. So the third season Seth MacFarlane, the stories are okay. But Seth MacFarlane made a comment that they have a movie-sized budget for each episode.
Yep.
I officially would like to know what the hell they're spending this on. Is it hookers and crack? Because I don't see it.
Well,
The effects look like something out of The Last Starfighter, which at the time, The Last Starfighter was amazing. But now you look at it and you go, that's like Nintendo.
Did you watch the Gently Falling Rain one, though? The episode 4? Because I've only watched through the 4th episode so far.
Yes, and I'm a little perturbed that they brought up the one part of the storyline I'm a little perturbed about.
Yeah, I agree. That one, although what's interesting is he said that episode was cast way before anything socially was known. So he said that was just a complete, happenstance. It wasn't planned or anything like that.
Well,
if you're talking about that aspect of it. But
I'm talking about the surprise aspect of it.
That was interesting. I was shocked by that. But anyway,
what about The Boys? Have you watched The Boys?
No,
on Amazon.
I haven't. That's one where I know she's not going to be into that.
Yeah.
But and I don't know if it's up my alley or not. I'm going to have to watch an episode and find out. It is one of those where it's like, okay, I've got to put that on my list of things to watch and give it a shot. That's like, it's like, it sounds really stupid, but evidently there's a new Beavis and Butthead movie out.
Screw that.
Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. It's on Paramount Plus. I know it sounds really stupid, but that teenager in me who thought Beavis and Butthead were hilarious and Beavis and Butthead Do America, really wants to watch it. And I'll tell you what, there's so my wife is going on she is the last weekend of this month, she's going to a baby shower out of town. Okay. And so I'm thinking, all right, this is a perfect opportunity. I have a whole weekend to myself to do nothing but watch movies I want to watch. And I was thinking about hitting the dispensary down the road. And I thought, okay, this is a perfect coalition of everything at once. I'm like, I could grab a gummy, I could watch Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe.
A gummy.
Hey, it's only going to take one, all right? And I could just chill for an entire night and laugh my butt off. And so that's kind of my plan. I have not told her my plan, and I'm not sure she'd appreciate my plan, but I think that's kind of my plan. So we'll see. But yeah, but no, I've watched the Orville up to, like I said, episode 4, and I thought episode 4 actually showed some of the money that they spent on like locations and stuff like that, because it was a little bit more like, as far as scenery and stuff like that, I think they did more on that one than what they typically do in just the ship. But yeah, like episode 3, where it was basically in a high school, where was the money spent? Okay, so they rented a high school for a day or two. That couldn't have cost much.
Episode 1, Gordon shows up with a new ship.
Yeah.
And now we've only seen it parked.
Exactly. Episode 2 was kind of interesting. We saw a new alien, but again, it just. But story-wise, they have gotten a lot better this season. Story-wise, I think it's gone much more dramatic than what they were in seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm still just not sure.
Well, we'll see.
I said I wasn't going to watch it, but. Yeah, it seems like everything went off the air at once for summer break. So, okay, here I am.
Yeah. So, all right.
So the one I'll go. Did you watch The Good Place?
I watched the first season of The Good Place, and it was it was good. I haven't gotten back in for the other seasons, and I probably should. But it's like, all right, so you're going to reset everything, and I just don't know.
Well, no, there's more to it than that, but that's one of those shows. It's very polarizing. Either you loved it or you hated it. I mean, I thought it was great, but there were some episodes where I was just like, filler, and there were some episodes where I was like,
Yeah.
But
that was much
like that
fun.
with every-
Okay, I know exactly what you thought there, Shaggy, and I'm not going to spoil the rest of it. Just to say, yeah, that's not what happens.
Okay.
But yes, that's exactly what happens.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and boy, with the fracturing of the streaming, it's getting more complex, obviously, to find what we want. And I mean, we're a television show, so this isn't off topic for us. If you're tuning in for the first time, we do talk movies and televisions. In fact, in about a half an hour, we're going to talk about 2 shows that we reviewed specifically for the radio show.
At least one of us did.
So, well, we can talk about what we saw.
Yeah. We're just saying, giving credit where credit's due. At least one of us did.
Some of us are better than others. We'll just put it that way.
But going back to our previous discussion talking about these deals. So one of the deals I bought off of Walmart's version of Prime Day from a couple weeks ago was a DNA test for our new dog, our new rescue dog. Now, Mike, have you ever done one of these before?
We did one for Evie. We did not do one for Tyson because a pot cake essentially has no discernible DNA of any specific breed because the lineage is gone.
Now, let me ask you guys this question. Have you guys ever done a DNA test of yourselves?
Not me personally, but enough of the other family members have had the test done that I'm covered.
Did you know what your results would be? Now, is there a reason why you haven't done it, or is it just, it's not my thing?
I don't want to be in a database.
Okay, because I'm like mildly interested because there's so much confusion about my background that I'm kind of interested in it. But my dad is of that. I'm not going to be in no database. They're not going to have my DNA. So, and my dad is not Hank Hill, but anyway, close enough. Or Boomhauer, whichever one you want to pick. But he is that way. Now, I think honestly they have my DNA anyway. I'm already in a database, so what the hell does it matter? I mean, I gave blood, so it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is which one I want to do. Like, I don't want to do one like Ancestry that just tells me where my descendants were from, because I've kind of gone through far enough back in what's it called?
Your family tree?
The family tree portion to figure that part out. Do I want to do something that gives you the medical likeliness? That's the one I'd be interested in doing. And that's primarily because I didn't get to know my father. I have no contact with that side of the family. So any medical issues that exist on that side, I have no insight to. So a genetic test like that, or a DNA test like that, could prove useful. However, do I want to open Pandora's box? My poop is still solid. My pee is still yellow. Nothing burns. Nothing hurts. Do I want to go down that road?
Well, Mike, if your pee is yellow, you really need to drink more water. It should be more closer to the clear side of things. I'm just letting you know.
It ain't red, so I'll take it as a win. Okay.
So, but no, I'm kind of with you. But I'm in a similar boat, right? So I knew my grandparents on both sides. One side a little bit better than the other side, and so I knew my immediate aunts and uncles, but I didn't know them that great. I couldn't, I know that cancer runs on both sides of the family from them, but I couldn't tell you anything about their parents. I couldn't tell you anything about anything beyond that. I couldn't even tell you my grandparents' siblings, all right, because most of it was they didn't know or they didn't want to talk about it. And so, definitely from the medical side of things, I'm interested. Plus, just my family is a ink blot of problems. All right, you can look at it and see different things every single time. You look at it once, diabetes. Yep, we see that. You look at it once, you see cancer. Yep, see that. Heart disease. Yep, see that. You can see everything if you look at it the right way. But so looking at it from a medical perspective is interesting. But then I also look at it and I go, okay, well, to look at my grandmother on my dad's side, you'd never think that she was Irish. All right, she didn't look that way, but evidently her parents were both straight off the boat. Some of that background stuff I don't have. In fact, I brought some photo albums from my grandpa to my house because I'm going to try and scan them in. And my dad happened to be over, and I'm like, well, who's this? And he's like, oh, well, that's Uncle so-and-so, and that's Aunt so. I'm like, I don't know who these people are. They were dead before I was born. They were dead when my dad was in high school. So, I don't know who these people are or anything like that. And so it would be kind of interesting because evidently somewhere there's a hacienda in Mexico with our name on it, our real name on it, because, my last name is not our real last name because we were abducted, essentially. And then my grandfather was abducted, essentially, by sharecrop farmers. And then on my grandma's side, well, obviously she lost her name when she married him, but she is evidently.
You could be a descendant of El Chapo.
I could be,
You could be a descendant of Che Guevara.
And evidently her name was Kilkenny, which supposedly there is a castle in Ireland for. So I don't know whether...
There was a restaurant not too far from us that unfortunately they just closed this last year due to COVID called the Kilkenny House.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I'm a lord or whether I'm a drug lord.
Well,
I don't know.
We really strayed, and I want to make sure we get back to this because Colin, you brought us down this path with your Amazon purchase, so I'm very curious about this one. So please,
okay. Well, let me see
to the original point.
Yeah, about dog DNA.
Because this feeds into that too. So let me see if I can get this up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, so has that popped up into my?
Yes, it does.
It has.
Okay. So yeah, so this is Lulu. This is our new rescue dog. So as far as we can tell, she was in a puppy mill that was cranking out Chihuahua mixes, designer Chihuahua dogs. So she was pregnant and she had parvo. That's why she got kicked out, and then ended up at a rescue that actually specializes in dogs with parvo. They have a whole treatment facility where they get these dogs through parvo and then get them back out to families. So that's where. But part of the reason we did the DNA test is we were actually thinking that she was a Jack Wawa, a Jack Russell Chihuahua, which is a very wanted mix. But we were having some. She was a rescue. She was having some behavior issues, barking at. Visiting family and stuff. And so we're just trying to figure out what she was to make sure that we were doing the right things with her. But it turns out she was not a Jack Wawa. It looks like she was in she's a Pomeranian Chihuahua. So it's fun.
She's got some beagle in her. That's the problem. I can tell you right now. Beagle.
She has short legs, so she kind of has like a the dog that Queen Elizabeth had.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Corgi.
She has kind of like corgi-sized legs, so she kind of runs closer to the ground. But yeah, she's 58% Chihuahua, and then she has some Yorkie and some, just standard terrier mix. Really, is what she has there, and 7% Pomeranian. What's interesting here is that they actually go through and try to figure out a family tree here. So they think that both of her parents were Chihuahua Pomeranian mixes. And we saw a picture of what her kids look like. And they thought it was a Shih Tzu mix at that point. But they were hairier. So I think they look more like a Chihuahua Pomeranian usually looks like. She's kind of like an in-between there. But her grandparents were a Chihuahua and a Pomeranian Chihuahua mix on both sides. And then back to the grandparents is where the Pomeranian and the Chihuahua pure bloods actually were. So this is what they can try to figure out there is, here's all of her extended family. But they also found relatives.
Oh, geez. Really?
Yep. So, yeah, there was Zuzu and Kobe Jack and Dave and Wilson and Captain Jack Morgan. And so there's a whole bunch of this. Zuzu is the only one that was considered close enough to say that she's extended family. So she's closer.
Well, she's cute. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, she's cute. And then over here in the health section, and this is where they test. So she's clear of everything that they check for that says that her health could have an issue. And then they go through all the details, everything they test. Then they have this trait information, which they always say, first, we learned that she's a very good girl. But, this is where you actually get into stuff like, what color her coat is, curly goat. She's not hairless. She probably sheds a lot. What her weight should be according to her genetics. Information about her head shape. So it turns out we were looking this up, and it turns out that what everybody thinks of as a Pomeranian mostly nowadays is like the teddy bear Pomeranians and stuff because they're very popular. But it's called a throwback Pomeranian, or the actual breed standard of a Pomeranian, actually has a longer snout, which is like Lulu has. So we're looking through this and realizing that her Pomeranian background is probably either a throwback or a standard Pomeranian, and that's where her.
So I wonder if 23andMe tells you what your head size is. No
idea.
If your legs are short or not. What your ideal weight should be. They probably do tell you that one. If your snout's long or short, that would be a bit insulting. If they tell everybody you're a good girl,
Yes. Yeah.
They probably tell you. They probably ask what your preferred pronoun is, and then put that in there.
But going back to what you're trying to figure out, I mean, if you can get this kind of family tree stuff here, then you can try to go back and figure out, just where everybody's coming from.
Yeah. So.
And see, that's the other reason why I don't want to do Ancestry DNA, because I believe that kind of opens you up to, well, one, you have to have the membership then. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do that.
But two, I don't want family to be able to get in touch with me because some database says, "Oh, you're related."
I have had because my aunt, wanted to get into the family tree stuff, and so I've had a far removed aunt try and get a hold of me, and I'm like, I didn't grow up around you. I really don't. You didn't have any point in my life. I really don't care. I do care about where we came from, but I don't care about people that weren't directly affected. Didn't directly affect me. And as I told my dad, I'm like, I selfishly want to know what part of Ireland we're from so that I can find the appropriate whiskey from that area and try it. You know, it's a very short-sighted goal, I'm sure, but you know, that's the thing that I'm into. So I would like to try it, and one day I would like to go over there and visit, and I would like to visit the area. You know, now according to what I know, the little bit that I know, Kilkenny, which is her maiden name, is like Smith over there. So you know, it's it's impossible that you're going to find anybody that's really related that would care. But still, it's just something to know. So but like you, I wouldn't go to the ancestry.com or anything like that, and I think I would do more like the 23andMe or something like that. But I've looked at those prices; it's like $100 for those tests. And I'm like, listen.
Oh, this was $100 for her test, yeah.
I'm like, I'm giving you a lot of data here. I think you can bring that price down a bit. So that would be one thing I would be looking for on Prime Days, because I think that is something that they typically do run specials on during Prime Days. Is like those come down to like $50 or so. So that will be something that I'll put a watch on and see if that's one of the things that they're going to run a special on. So the other thing is.
Yeah.
I'll be looking.
I may look for that. Yeah,
I'll be looking for like broadcasting stuff. You know, I'll be looking for like light panels or a bigger stream deck, or, you know, I've got a couple customers that are looking for stuff, and well, if I can buy it on sale and then sell it to them at regular prices, why wouldn't I? You know, that's just good business.
I actually almost bought a pellet grill this past week, but decided I'm going to wait until the end of the season when hopefully prices come down even further.
I thought you were going to say a pellet gun. So for a second.
No. That would be illegal in New Jersey.
A pellet gun is?
Firearm.
Yeah. So having a pellet grill myself, they are quite amazing. I wish I had gotten one a lot earlier. Out of curiosity, which brand were you looking at?
The one Pit Boss was the one I was looking at. It was,
yeah,
but
okay.
I decided against it because one, it did not have the PID controller, and two, okay, so it doesn't have that. The Wi-Fi portion I really could care less about. That would be nice to have, not required, but also the ash cleanout seemed to be a little problematic on that particular model. So I'm just going to wait. I'm not in any kind of rush. I'm primarily going to be using it as a smoker. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to replace my propane grill. Let me put it that way.
Yes. If you want the absolute easiest clean out, that's going to be the Weber. Mine is a Green Mountain. It has an ash clean out where you open a door on the side and stick a vacuum cleaner on it and suck it out. But
which
I
is fine.
found
that's like the minimum what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I found it over long term though. It's as long as you have an ash vacuum, it's pretty easy. Yeah. Wi-Fi is essential. That's not a nice to have. That's essential.
Okay.
I found the Wi-Fi very important.
Is there a particular reason why Wi-Fi is essential?
Yeah, this was going to be my question.
I mean, does the meat cook better with 5G? I mean, what?
No. It's all about. You know, the problem with a pellet grill is you have to have it full of pellets, and sometimes you're cooking for several hours, and unless you're out there to hear the alarm, you may not hear that it's actually run out of pellets. Where if you have the Wi-Fi up on your phone can alert you that, hey, the temperature is going down. Then so you could lose half an hour. Depends how often you actually are going out there and checking on it. if you're cooking something that's taking 8 hours and, you get distracted and it actually runs out of pellets for half an hour, then that's not good. But just be able to check the temperature. Yeah.
That's why I said it'd be nice to have, because ideally, like I said, I'm not replacing my propane grill with it. If I was, let's say I'm doing a brisket. I'm only saying that because I've got a damn brisket sitting in my freezer that I have no idea how I'm going to cook. I'm cooking this brisket, I'm going to plan it for a day that I'm going to be out there doing stuff in the yard anyway. So I can go and I can check and I can mist it and I can top off the pellets and et cetera, et cetera. That's why I said, would it be nice to have? Yes. But I'm not specific. I'm not going to turn down a good deal if I found one that didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So the other half of that is any of the pellet grills that are worth buying are going to have Wi-Fi now.
And yes, I'm starting to realize that part as well.
Because they're basically built into the PIDs nowadays. So if you, because it's almost free for them to put the Wi-Fi on.
All right. So, let's see here. We got a few more minutes before we get into our double feature movie review. And so far, we have talked about DNA tests and everything. But, Mike, you did post an interesting article about copyrights that I think we should talk about for a little bit. Because we've had our own run-in with copyrights from time to time.
Yeah. And
this was one that I think is going to be an interesting one to talk about, because if I'm reading this right, so Kat Von D, a fairly well-known tattoo artist, she's had her own shows and everything. So she took as inspiration, really close inspiration, a famous photo. Done by Jeff Seidlich, I think, of jazz musician Miles Davis, and tattooed it onto someone, and now is being I don't know if I can't remember. You'll have to point this out if it's her that's being challenged in court or the person.
She is not. The person who got tattooed, Kat Von D, is being sued.
Okay. For copyright violations. And there's a couple of interesting things in the lawsuit. Because, this has implications to fair use. It has implications to derivative works. Obviously they didn't just make a copy of the picture. This is her tattooing it onto someone else. So there are aspects of it, while it looks similar, it's not an exact copy. And, according to this article, there's never been a case like this before. And it will be, and so there are so many things about this that make it unique. So, Mike, I'm curious about your take on this.
So, a couple of things, and this kind of struck a chord with the business aspect of it, because we see all the time. I'm not even going to call them competitors, but we see like local crafters that are selling products similar to what we sell, but they're putting, NFL logos on them. They're putting, we've talked about this. They're putting like the Jack Daniels artwork, but with different wording. And this kind of this may be more akin to that, because there has been an often repeated fallacy that if you change X% of artwork, it's now an original piece.
All right, it's derivative enough to fall under fair use.
Right. And this is saying, nope, that's not true. Because that percentage is subjective.
Right,
and who decides that? What components? Yeah.
Which absolutely, there is ambiguity in the way that the law is written. And one of the reasons I find this interesting, and just to bring a personal point to this, so my wife has Mickey Mouse tattooed on her right, ankle. This was something that she wanted for her 50th birthday, and so we made it happen. But that's Mickey Mouse is obviously a copyrighted character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very similar to this, could that tattoo artist be, taken to court over that reproduction? And it's not. I mean, think of all the Tazes that were done in the 80s and 90s. Think of all of the,
the Marvins,
the everything,
No, I'm sorry, the Calvin, like peeing on something, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Think of all of those, that you can think of. Think of all of the pinup girls that were reproduced from famous calendars or nose cone art or whatever, that are on, arms.
So there's a couple of things here. First of all, like when that happens, like I'm sure that the tattoo artist who did your wife's tattoo did not go posting on social media that they did this Disney tattoo. I am sure that tattoo artists are very smart about this. So they do a Spider-Man tattoo for somebody, they're not posting that. They're not putting that in their portfolio. They're being very careful about talking about that because there's always been this concern. This here, Kat posted, she posted on her damn social media, and I think this is how she really got caught, a picture of her doing this tattoo with the photograph in question
behind it,
taped up behind her.
Now, I'm not sure that statement's actually true, Mike. I think a lot of tattoo artists brag about the realism they give to the original artwork, regardless of where that artwork comes from.
Well, so here's the thing. Like a lot of tattoo artists around here, they'll post up portraits that they've done of like people's parents or people's pets.
Right.
Not of celebrities. I have seen, and there seems to that sometimes there's a little leeway with this. Meaning, I've seen them post up like when Kobe Bryant passed away. I've seen them post up tattoos they did like memorials of Kobe. Which, if you're really gonna be if Kobe's estate was going to go after everybody who got a tattoo of Kobe as a memorial, that could be a very bad move from a PR standpoint. All right, you might as well have Ezra Miller promoting your tattoo line at that point, for God's sakes. But this is where I'm saying, like, the exact photograph is up. So there's your proof right there. Now, what they did say in part of this, the summary judgment, was that Kat's company cannot be held liable for this. It's her because she's the one doing the tattooing and she's the one who posted this picture on her personal account.
Right.
Right. But you bring up a very good point. Like, so now if you took your wife to Disney, and we're going to use that as the example. If somebody was walking in Disney World with a Mickey Mouse tattoo, do you need to show proof that you got that from a licensed, authorized tattoo artist? Like, are Disney police going to walk around and start calling? And what's the penalty for this? What's the ramification?
Yeah, I'm looking at this is from a small.
Well, I'm not saying that they do. I'm saying if this case goes against Kat Von D,
Right.
Yeah,
Who knows
so-
what this is going to do?
Disney already doesn't do anything about knockoff Disney shirts that people are wearing. So, but
So-
That's not entirely
that's already
true
gone
either.
through lawsuits.
Yeah, so I just found an article for specifically this article is aimed towards tattoo shops in regards to copyright infringement. Now, this is not to say we're not lawyers; we can't tell you whether this article is right or not. But I think this does break it down fairly easily. It says, based on current law, some tattoos could infringe on copyrights. Generally speaking, the copyright holder must prove the copied work has a negative effect on the work's value or potential market. A tattoo artist who inks a cartoon character onto a client without obtaining permission from the original illustrator may be infringing by affecting the potential market of the character. The illustrator could sell drawings to tattoo parlors for use on clients. On the other hand, the client is less likely to be considered infringing since his display of the artwork is usually not for profit and in most cases would not affect the work's value or market.
So here's where there's a difference. You're talking about drawings and artwork.
Right.
When you talk about photographs, let's
Right.
go back to the monkey taking the selfie. Let's go back to the Ellen selfie at the Oscars, which was determined, even though it was Ellen's Samsung phone that was used, because Bradley Cooper was holding the phone and took the picture, he was legally the owner of that picture.
Right. I think here
So that's where, so the person who took this picture is the one that is going after Kat
Right.
Von D.
but I think
So
specifically I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
But so my concern here is the same way everybody else is getting concerned about how recent decisions in the court can affect other decisions down the line. This opens that door. This opens that door to expand the responsibility and who is liable for copyright infringement, or how far can you prosecute, or what can you actually do. This opens that door to a whole bigger discussion again.
Yeah. And I think this as we said, I think this paragraph outlines it fine as to the ultimate responsibility. Okay? And potential liability, and I think you said it well as also. It's that the potential damage could be by the tattoo parlor, not by the person receiving the tattoo. Because the person receiving the tattoo is not doing so for potential profit and gain. Okay? But the tattoo artist who is doing the work is.
Okay. So in this case, Angie would not be held responsible.
Right.
But they could take her to the basement of Cinderella's castle with the light shining in her face, say, "Who did this tattoo on you? You will tell us now or be banned for life."
Yes, exactly. They could go, "Tell us who did it." Goofy could be there interrogating her. Absolutely. But so what this could end up doing is, if a case like this went forward, like you said, it could lead to tattoo artists saying, we will not do registered trademarks or copyrighted works as part of our process. If you want something, it will have to be an original work or something which is, fair, covered under fair use, which is always an iffy thing, right? As we have found out, fair use is never easy to prove.
Correct.
So thus why we don't have background music anymore, thus why our openings are the way they are, and everything else. Why we don't play a lot of YouTube clips, etc. Because for some reason radio stations can get away with it all day long and not have to worry about it, but a small little podcast like ours who reaches tens of listeners, no, we can't do any of that stuff.
That is why Sirius charges me an extra $2 a month so that they can pay royalties to the music companies in order to play music.
Well, I'm not even saying music, I'm saying news. So yeah, even though fair use says you can do it for commentary, yeah, good luck proving it. So anyway, regardless of that, it doesn't matter. We don't have any sour grapes or anything. No, that's not us. This is an interesting court case. There's a lot of interesting court cases going on, and like Mike said, I think it's not just the court case in and of itself for that specific item. It's all the tangential court cases and effects that could happen. So
and and what it's also going to do, it's also going to make, if they rule in favor of the photographer and damages are awarded, every person who has ever put a photograph out there on the web that can prove ownership as part, and people use as like a background for something when they do a Google search or what have you, all of those photographers, you're going to see a ton more of these lawsuits.
Yeah.
Be it in small claims or local or county or whatever, you're going to see a ton more of these. This is going to set a precedent, and the question then becomes, what's the next step?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you already have a ton of these people who are editing websites who think that they can just go to Google and download whatever picture they want and put it on their website. And, it is, I'll tell you what, I deal with these people all the time. Training them and getting them to understand just because it's on the web doesn't mean that you can use it. There's such a thing as copyright law. We have so difficult.
We've talked about this one before. I brought it up, and this is tying to what Colin said about the Disney shirts and what have you. When people buy a Cricut machine, you can buy a Disney cartridge that gives you graphics, the fonts, everything. It says specifically in the terms of use that by buying the cartridge, you are allowed to make stuff for yourself. Mm-hmm. You are not allowed to sell those items. And unfortunately, this is a case where people don't read the terms and conditions. They think because they have a Cricut, they can start selling this stuff. And I have seen Etsy shops get shut down because they are selling Disney merchandise with the font and the things, all the stuff, because they weren't careful. So that's where I said, that's where I was going when I was talking about before about the.
Yeah, I mean, the part that I was getting to was, legally speaking, you are allowed to buy counterfeit stuff. Legally, you're allowed to do that, and you're allowed to wear it, and nobody can stop you. But you are not allowed to sell. The person you bought it from and the person who made it, they're the ones that broke the law, not you.
Well, legally, if you don't know, it's
even if you know it's counterfeit, you're allowed to buy it. According to, what is this, the Justice Department? Yeah, according to the United States Department of Justice, it's not illegal to buy a counterfeit product for your personal use, even if you know it's a fake.
Oh, okay. I guess that's how.
Now, if you try to sell it, you're breaking the law.
So
but you're allowed to buy it.
So my Rolex watch, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or Rolex with a U.
Whether it's ethical is a different question, but it is legal.
So, all right. It's 7:50, so we're going to go ahead and get into the double feature movie review, which is a segment we do every show where we go and we look at two recommended movies, and we tell you whether they're worth watching or whether you should just leave them on the side of the road where they belong. So this week we have Old Goats from Amazon Prime, and we have I Think We're Alone Now, which also from Amazon Prime, starring Peter Dinklage. So I think we should probably start with Old Goats.
No, we're going to start with I Think We're Alone Now.
We're going to start with I Think We're Alone Now, according to Mike. And and we'll start with Colin. So, Colin, tell us, what did you think of I Think We're Alone Now, starring Peter Dinklage?
Okay. So I think Rollo Now is a movie similar to many other movies we've watched. It's a post everybody dying movie where one guy thinks he's the only person alive, and then somebody else shows up. And I think it was a Tom Hanks movie with the dog and the robot. Anyway, there's other movies we've watched of this. It is a genre of movie that I enjoy as a character piece, as seeing how these people interact, how what happens to them because of this disaster. Anyway, like I said, I like this kind of movie. It's kind of movie that has been made over and over for years. And I really enjoyed this one up to, I'd say, was it about 3/4 through it? Because I think the people who made this movie lost their own faith in the movie and decided that more actors needed to show up, namely Paul Giamatti, with some really stupid secondary plot that shows up and causes a detour, and it ruined the movie for me. The entire end sequence of the movie was just it was a different movie that I've been watching, and it was terrible idea. So it was a movie that was on its way to getting a shnikes from me, and didn't get all the way down to meh, but I think it ends up, I don't know, I don't remember exactly what is right above meh, but it's definitely not Verp and a half.
No, above meaning better than a meh?
Oh,
better than a meh.
Better than Matt. Smile?
Smirk.
Smirk. I'll give it a smirk. That's exactly what it deserves, as a smirk.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. I'll go next, and then I'll let Mike do cleanup. All right. This movie, let me put it this way. If I was on death row and they said, all right, we're going to allow you to watch one movie before we take you to the chair, which one do you want it to be? I would pick this movie, because then it would seem like an eternity before they came to get me. I think this movie, I object to the runtime listed on IMDb for this movie. I believe it's closer to about 14 hours is what I think that it really is, if you think about it. This movie is so slow. And for a while, I thought my speakers were broken. I thought, certainly, this has got to be a talkie, right? They didn't do this as a silent movie the whole time, did they? But no, this is just, and I wasn't. I like Peter Dinklage. He's a nice guy. He was great in the Kingdom of Badassdom. He should really stick to comedies where his strong point is. All right, I haven't seen Game of Thrones, and I don't plan to, and I don't want to see him in anything other than a comedy where he's the funny short guy. But good Lord, this movie dragged on for too long. It's great that he's cleaning up the dead bodies. It's great that he's burying them all. I think it's funny that he still doesn't know how to use the tractor after burying half of the town. But Jesus, this movie took forever and still wasn't good. And Paul Giamatti is scary no matter what his role is. He just is ungodly scary. He could read you Green Eggs and Ham and you would have nightmares. All right. So I agree with Colin. It was kind of a disconnect at the end there with that little side travel that they took. But regardless, this gets a puke from me simply because I felt like I was standing still forever because the movie would not move on. All right? It just drug forever. Puke. 100%. All right, Mike.
All right. So, the opening scene of this movie, where he went and looked for all the batteries in the house, that actually made me think, maybe I should get a solar battery charger on Prime Day to go with my machete. Then I see him, and I'm thinking to myself, that's a pretty big truck. And then I realized it was a Ford Ranger, and it was, Peter Dinklage, so proportions. The laptop battery dying, another reason to have a solar charger. At this point in the movie, I start to wonder more about what actually happened to wipe out humanity than how these two are going to coexist. But I'm pretty sure that that's going to change shortly. Thought it was an interesting point, and I don't know if we ever fully explored it, that his sole purpose in life was to find overdue library books and return them to the library. And at this point, it's starting to remind me of a movie that I watched a long time ago called Right at Your Door, which has a very similar tone to this, different plot line, not quite as apocalyptic, but very similar tone. Here's where they jumped the shark the first time, because they pulled the cousin Oliver here, okay? They brought the dog in to add an extra level and kind of pique the interest a little bit. What I want to know is, how do you have a dog and not let the dog sleep in bed with you? I don't. That's an unfamiliar concept to me. And then after the dog bit Del, I got quite concerned. And there you go. How'd the dog get out, Del? What'd you do? Huh? Thought he was going to kill you. I thought maybe he was going to eat the dog. I didn't know. Here's where the brain starts kicking in. Grace talks about how Del can be so even keel about everything, no emotions. And she touched on a very good point. Like, if you didn't have anyone to care about before the apocalypse, how would you know how to care about anyone after the apocalypse? And then my brain started going into a pretzel around that for a little while. And this is where the movie jumps the shark the second time, because Paul Giamatti shows up, as the other two have talked about. And a couple of things that I was curious. Like, could you imagine spending so much time thinking there was no one else left in the world, only to find out that there's entire cities that are still thriving? I mean, this is pretty much a completely dark version of Blast from the Past when you think about it. And Brendan Fraser is an analogous to Peter Dinklage. There's a comparison I never thought I'd make in my lifetime. End scene. They're driving, and this is where the going to hell moment comes in. Del, who is Peter Dinklage's character, if you haven't figured that out yet, has driven at least 5 different cars by the time they get to the end. Does he have like telephone books and pedal blocks that he moves from car to car? I'm just curious, because I find it very unlikely that he found all of these specially equipped cars out there in no man's land along his journey. So anyhow, I was enjoying the flick, but then it went off the rails with the introduction of Giamatti's character and the whole memory tampering thing. Okay, you take that out, maybe this movie gets a smile. But because of that twist and the fact that the dog was never found or referenced again once Del let it out, this comes down to a mess. Never mess with the dog.
By the way, I'm sure he probably had drywall stilts. They're lightweight, easy to carry. Would take care of all the pedal issues.
I wasn't sure if the character was actually supposed to be short. Because when he let her out of the bathroom, or not the bathroom, the bedroom. When he let her out of the bedroom, she said, "You sounded short," which could either be taken to, "I was right," or he isn't short. She thought he was going to be short because she thought that he sounded short. The saying, there is no reference anywhere else in the entire movie to Peter Dinklage not being normal height, having a normal height. So just thinking,
He's
one of the producers. He may have purposely had it set up that way so that he could just ignore it completely.
So, all right. So we're going to talk about old goats next. But before
I'm going last.
You're going last. Before we do that,
You're
though,
going
I'm out of hard cider. I drank the last one that was at my desk, and in order to prepare for this, I have to break out something a little bit harder. So we're going with a Dewdrop Moonshine. If that gives you guys any idea of what the review is going to be like. So, we'll saddle that up. All right, Colin, you're going to go first.
Okay.
Old goats, tell us about it. In detail, beginning to end. Give us your full opinion. Don't leave out anything.
Old Goats seems to be some kind of movie where some writer knew these three old guys and liked how they talked so much, he decided to write an entire movie for these three old guys to be in. None of them were actors, but we have an entire 15-hour-long saga about their lives. So it started off, one of them was going to go on a cruise to Hawaii in his little boat that he'd been living in for 30 years. And he quit his job as a mechanic. And I'm trying to figure out how the writer of this ever thought that this guy would ever, that anyone ever think he would ever be a mechanic. Because, no. He doesn't know how to use a wrench. How would he be a mechanic? I don't know. Anyway, the narrator is this other guy who looks like a dentist, I guess, who's supposed to have retired forcefully from a job where he actually was well paid, some white collar something or other, and somehow he ends up driving Hugh Hefner around because this other old guy who's basically the owner of a Playboy mansion, apparently. At least that's what his life story says. So I got through some of this movie. I didn't get through all of this movie. They got to the point where the guy who used to have money is getting, his wife is complaining that they were supposed to go to Palm Springs and move there after he retired, and that it was time to do that. But she's quite possibly the worst actress that we've ever seen in any of these movies, and we've seen some terrible actors. And at the same time, the not a mechanic was like trying to do online dating. I gave up. So I went to the end of the movie and saw that, okay, at the end of the movie, the guy with money ended up in Palm Springs, apparently, and the other two guys are still being stupid. I don't know. I didn't see anything at the end of the movie that seemed to indicate to me that anything of any consequence had happened, and I gave up at that point. I just don't even try. Just if you've ever sat in a diner or something, and there's three old guys, complaining to each other and talking about their old stories and stuff. This is that for 120 days long. There you go. Take it away, Shaggy.
All right. So, Old Goats is, as Colin said, a comedy that features three elderly men playing themselves. You know, Britt lives alone on a boat and searches for excitement and romance. But he is I don't think he was a mechanic at the shop. I think he basically like ran the desk. You know, and he didn't do a very good job of that from what we understand from his previous boss, because he said that the day he quit was the best day for both of them, which is a hell of a thing to say to somebody. You quitting was the best thing for both of us. Yeah, that's not something you say to somebody that is asking for their job back if you want to be nice. Bob, who is the Hugh Hefner, you know, wannabe that Colin brought up, he's writing a book about his memoirs, but he's obviously an old man who's getting grifted, because the point where I left it, it sounds like he'd spent like $2,500 to this publishing company who was maybe going to get his book in maybe 2 stores, maybe. And was the publisher was doing his own Photoshop work. Sounds to me like a bunch of other elderly scams I know about. But the guy's, all his book is about is like what he did in the war and the 50-some women that he slept with, and that his claim to fame is that he never forced himself on any woman, and that was a good thing. So that was, and then there's David, who's, like Colin said, who's adapting to his newly retired life by ingratiating himself to these old guys by being their chauffeur, basically, because they can't get their life together, living with his bossy wife. And she is not happy that he has found a life outside of the house and her. You know, I watched up until the point where Britt was going into online dating and taking his profile pictures, and they were setting his profile up to do online dating. And at that point, it became too much for me, because I have been in way too many KC halls for way too long, listening to these exact same conversations and explaining to someone how your laptop has wireless, but it doesn't automatically have the internet, because it's not a thing that just exists out there like radio, you know, which was a conversation which took place in this movie. You know, so it was a little too close to home. And from somebody who's getting paid to write a movie, I expect better dialogue than what I can overhear at the Knights of Columbus Hall. So I ripcorded the movie at that point. And anyone who can watch the movie past that point is a very strong person. I mean, they're the kind of person that you can rely on. They're the kind of person that can endure hardships in life and struggles that mere mortals such as myself cannot do. I mean, that is a person that you can put your trust in. You know, that's the kind of person where you could give them a blank check and say, here, put in this what you think you're owed for mowing my lawn, and they will put in like $5. You know, that is a person whom is should be respected and like, you know, lifted up high and, you know, appreciated. I don't know any of those people who could possibly have sat through this movie in its entirety, because it's too much. I mean, that's a person who would enjoy a good cobbler. Let me put it that way. So, you know, a nice cherry or an apple cobbler. So I have to give what I watched of
the cobbler thing there, because I was going to if you don't.
Okay, there he is. There's Mike. Hi, Mike. All right. Are you ready to tell us how far you got through? Oh, you broke out the little bottles. All right. Oh, hold on. I forgot to do this beforehand. All right. Now, continue.
Right.
Opening shot. PTR Radio 30 years from now. Managing my retirement funds. Now, I'm glad to know what that's code for. And it just dawned on me that the one guy who Colin said looks like he should be a dentist is the guy that has braces at retirement age, which is something I never quite understood. When you get to that age, you don't get braces, you get dentures or implants. 20 minutes in, which is right after the hot tub incident, which I have on good authority, at least one of my co-hosts punched out at after that. And I hear these old women talking, and I'm wondering if this is what women really sound like at parties. 30 minutes in, I am having trouble staying connected or interested in this movie. The website they go with for the dating service is called seniorconnections.com. Interesting. Here he goes with technology. He's on a computer. He doesn't have internet. Here goes the fun part. Here's the quote. Dave says, "The internet is out there, kind of like how God's out there." That's a good one, and I'm going to use that at some point. And Dave is lying about not knowing where to find this. You know damn well that Dave is the one that's going to be teaching Brit about porn, all right? And if the boat is a rockin', don't come a knockin'. You know that's going to happen. Halfway mark. I am struggling ridiculously with this movie. I mean, I'm watching this scene where this guy's going on his first internet date, and this is my lunch break at work. I'm staring down a bottle of scotch thinking I'm going to need it to finish this movie. At this point, I have to make a statement about my opinion about this movie, and I feel I need to do this because of the current environment around the country. My opinion of this movie should in no way, shape, or form be interpreted as my opinion of all of the elderly people in this country. That is not the case. They are completely independent of each other. In fact, as my wife says, I love old people. But this is a bit much, okay? There's a reason I don't volunteer at a nursing home, because I know that I would probably, not do well there. This is like watching C-SPAN, okay? You can take so much at a time before your blood pressure spikes to dangerous levels. Now Britt's having a lady over to come over to his boat. Dude, we talked about not making the bed. I didn't think, here's an interesting case. Has there ever been an episode of Hoarders where the person lived on a boat? No? We found one. My guess is they'd probably just sink the sumbitch and be done with it. 36 minutes left in this movie. And I'm thinking to myself, this actually is going to be 36 minutes because the credits can't be but 2 minutes long. It's not like, when the runtime of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness says 2 hours and 20-something minutes. The credits are 15 minutes long with cutscenes. He's buying wine at a gas station. I guess that's normal in other places. And Dave's wife is just evil, man. And there it is. Pornography. You knew pornography was going to be a topic in this movie somehow. So 2 things. One, I'm being generous because I'm giving it a meh. I would give it lower because I struggled with this movie. I would give it lower, but I don't have the heart to do that. Why? Because, yes, it is a lot like a home movie. But at the very end, if y'all had made it to the credits, they have the B-reel stuff, or the bloopers. And this was infinitely better than the movie itself. Why? Why, you ask? Because as we noted, these guys are not actors. The bloopers at the end were them just being themselves. And you know what? These guys are likable. when they're being themselves. They're the kind of people that I would want to have a beer with. Okay, but when they're trying to follow a script, if that's what we're calling it these days, because I don't know if it was improv or what, they were too uptight and stiff. So, I'm going to give it a minute. That being said, new goddamn rule. If you have the freaking balls to put a movie on the list, you ain't allowed to punch out on that movie. I don't care if your eyeballs are freaking bleeding by the time you're done. You are not allowed to punch out on a movie you put on the list. That's bullshit. That's sadistic. That's torturous. And it ain't happening.
I agree. Good rule. And I can't show it on the stream, but Mike, I sent you, there was an episode of Hoarders on a houseboat. And they put the picture of the of the houseboat, so I threw it on our Slack.
So I saw that, and my question is was that the primary? Oh, that was a houseboat. Okay, so it was a primary residence.
Yes.
All right, it wasn't like a boat that was, and because that's just docked like that. That is the houseboat equivalent of living in a van down by the river, because that don't even look like a lake or nothing. That's like a canal.
Yeah.
With a bike path. Okay. All right, so let's pick for our next show.
Okay, let's pick something other than two stinkers, please. All right, so what do we got?
Can I put a bid in?
Okay.
Can I put a bid in to say that we need to watch Sky Sharks?
Sky Sharks?
It's on Freevee, which is what IMDb used to be called. Or what used to be IMDb TV is now called Freevee. And Sky Sharks is on.
And Freevee is a channel on Prime, right? So you could find it on Prime Video, I think?
I would think so, yes.
All right, I'm fine. I'm okay with it.
Did you see when I posted something about this in our...
I did not, but I'm reading just the headline right now.
Oh, excuse me.
Sky Sharks trailer 2020 Nazi flying shark sci-fi movie.
It is not on Prime Video. Oh wait, no, that's Street Sharks. Never mind.
Nazi zombie super soldiers riding flying sharks into battle.
Yeah, it's a combination of Sharknado and Iron Sky. And I was looking at this going, how did we miss this?
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with that. Okay, so then what do we have, Mike? 1 to what?
1 to, what did I say? 52.
1 to 52. 47.
Are you... Well, I know, Shaggy, you ain't punching out. Really? Cannibal women in the avocado jungle of death?
Oh, this is a late 80s
You're
film.
Serious now, aren't you?
Comedy horror starring Shannon Tweed, Karen Waldron, Adrienne Barbeau, Bill Maher, and Jim McCrell.
He has all kinds of weird stuff. I was looking through the list. You really expect us to watch a movie about two sisters who didn't know each other who inherited a nudist colony?
Well, that one looks funny. Here, just listen to this and tell me it doesn't seem like it's right up our alley. The U.S. government, eager to protect the nation's avocado supplies, recruits feminist professor Margot Hunt to make contact with the pariah women, an all-female tribe who believe men are only good as a source of food.
Nope. This is well, we know who put it on the list.
It's only PG-13.
That don't befund me nothing. You know what? a lot of that stuff that was on USA Up All Night was PG-13, and guess what? There was a lot. No. Oh God, this is gonna be okay.
I think it'll be hilarious.
That's fine.
All right, cool. So that's
fine.
That's show.
There'll be a lot of drinking in my future, but that's fine.
I'm looking forward to a good cheesy 80s comedy horror after the crap we had to watch for this show. All right, folks, and that is it for this week. So we will be back on the 25th. That's when we decided, right? 25th will be
Correct.
Our next show. And, and we'll have an announcement on the 25th. So make sure that you tune in and that you subscribe to the podcast. There will be an announcement on the next show that you won't want to miss. So, as always, make sure that you go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, Mama Blair wrote in 15 minutes ago, supposedly this movie was meant to appeal to boomers. I'm a boomer, and there was no appeal. I'm guessing you're talking about Old Goats.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, great. The entire Blair, I'm the only one out of the entire, no, you know what? That's it. Y'all are off the Christmas card list. I'm done. I'm done with y'all. Nope. I had to watch that freaking thing. Nope. Nobody gave me no heads up, no warning, no nothing until like 2 days before the show. Had to punch out, pull the ripcord. You son of a... I sat through I drink myself into a damn coma over this, and you... No.
Well, thanks to the new rule, I can't ripcord cannibal women in the avocado jungle. Of
damn right you can't, cannibal. You're probably going to give it a shnikes, knowing you.
So anyway... Folks, you won't want to miss our next episode where we review these fine films.
Got three things that you love in life: women, barbecue, and avocados.
I hate avocados. But regardless, so make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Go to ptrradio.com. It's got all the information on how to do that, as well as check out us on all of our social media at PTR Radio on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. With that said, again, 25th will be on our next show and a special announcement then, so make sure that you tune in. All right. Anything from anybody else before we sign off? Nope.
No, I've said my piece.
All right. So get the drinking ready for the next set of reviews, and we will see you in 2 weeks. With that said, I'm Shaggy.
I'm Colin.
I hate my life.
Stick a fork in us, folks. We are done. Later.